Today on the Empowered Wife podcast.
He planned a hunting trip on our wedding anniversary. And one of the beautiful things I always loved about our marriage was that he always wanted me with him. And I always wanted to be like, when we would go to do something, we would do it together or we wouldn't do it at all. And I couldn't go because we had little babies at the time. And so I figured, well, I understand you want to take this on as an experience and want to learn how to hunt and things like that. But obviously we can't do that right now. It's not, and he went anyway. And it was our anniversary. And I sat in my room crying that day for 4 hours. And every time we'd have another fight about the distance in our relationship, I'd bring that one up. And then, as the fights got worse, then one time I was in the hospital and he had said he was going to come. He didn't come. And he was trying to tell me it was just a miscommunication or something like that. And I, I was just like, no, no, don't come. I don't want you here if you're not helping and supporting me. And that, he got very angry at that.
Welcome to the Empowered Wife podcast, where it's all about fixing your marriage without your man's conscious effort so that you feel desired, taken care of, and special, even if your relationship feels hopeless. I'm Laura Doyle, and today we're talking about what to do if your husband is addicted to porn, and I'm sharing the number one way to heal. My guest Melissa struggled with feeling emotionally abused, and there were a lot of big fights about money at her house. After she implemented all of the intimacy skills step by step, she felt like she had a whole life makeover, including her marriage, which feels safe, peaceful, and exciting now. She's going to tell us how she did it so you can do it too. But first, let's talk about your husband is addicted to porn. What is the number one way to heal? Especially if the physical intimacy has dried up and he is just not interested in you. That rejection hurts and it makes you feel pathetic. I mean, here you are competing with a two-dimensional woman and you are losing. It's only logical that it seems like it's the porn that is stealing the passion, and you can't control that. I mean, you could tell him to stop looking at porn, but how do you know if he's going to do it, right? I mean, he's got that phone in his pocket 24/7, and that's connected to the internet. We all know what the internet is full of. And plus, he's a grown man and he can do what he wants. And there's that joke about how 96% of men watch porn and then the other 4% lie, right? So, but what are you supposed to do? I mean, just suck it up and accept that your marriage is not going to have any passion in it, even though that was part of what you had anticipated when you said I do. That was part of why you got married to begin with, was because you loved feeling desired, having physical intimacy, right? Who doesn't love that? We all want that. So it's kind of scary to think about that going away. But instead of focusing on what he should do differently, and there are a lot of good logical reasons that he shouldn't look at porn, let's jump over to your paper and ask a different question. So here it is. What would you have that you don't have now if he stopped watching porn? What would you have that you don't have now? And you're thinking, passion. I would have passion, right? I wouldn't be in a sexless marriage, or I wouldn't feel like it's a desert. And we hardly ever have that passion. And that is your birthright, to feel desired, right? And I want every woman to have her birthright. So it's right and fair for you to want to have that passion. But what if there's another explanation for why you're not getting that? And what if there's something you can do about it? Because that was me. I didn't know why my husband wasn't interested in physical intimacy, but I knew that men are always interested in sex. And since he wasn't, that meant there was something wrong with him, probably porn. And none of that served me. None of that served me, because there is nothing I can do to control what a grown man watches, not even my own husband. Plus, this was actually a big distraction from my own paper, where all my decisions and all my power lives. I was actually making the problem worse, because every time I came up with a diagnosis for him or told him what he was doing wrong or was disrespectful to him, I became more repulsive than ever. The two-dimensional women weren't doing that. I wanted him to want me, but I also wanted to be able to say what a loser pants he was, or how much I didn't approve of what he was doing, or how he had something wrong with him. And maybe it was low testosterone, right? I mean, things didn't change at my house until I changed my focus. Now I know that the key to getting the passion back is respect. That's the best aphrodisiac for men on the planet. And it's free and it works fast. You just have to be willing to do it. And, I wasn't super excited to be respectful at first, but this is the number one way to heal from the heartbreak of feeling like porn is stealing your passion, is to restore the passion with respect. So it wasn't that easy to get myself to be respectful, because why should I be respectful if he's watching lowbrow, degrading smut? I didn't see why he deserved that. But my disrespect didn't just make him feel rejected and unloved, which it certainly did do that. It also made me feel hairy and dirty. Now, I was so used to being disrespectful that I didn't notice this at first. It wasn't until I started being respectful that I started to notice a difference in the way I felt about myself. But telling him he had a physical problem or a mental problem, even though I was completely convinced that he did and that I was right, I never really found an upside to doing that, to focusing on it, because what I focus on increases. So I was just growing our problem bigger and bigger and bigger. When I started treating him with more respect, I really noticed the difference. Whether he deserved it or not, I liked being around me more when I was respectful. And I noticed the difference in my irresistibility also. When I was disrespectful, I was entirely resistible to him, and that was evident. And the more respectful I became, the more I noticed I was irresistible to my husband. So criticizing him for watching porn is disrespectful. It's kind of like if I criticized him for watching football or NASCAR. And you might think, well, there's a big difference. Wait a minute. There's a big difference between him watching football or NASCAR and him watching porn. And that's not a fair comparison. And, maybe so. I mean, it would be nice if he saw things the same way that I see things, right? But my husband is not like me. And I used to feel pretty self-righteous about my way and not notice how disrespectful I was being. Now, you might think, well, why doesn't he just do the right thing and stop watching porn? Why not that? And I notice that sometimes when I give up trying to control something that my husband is doing that I wish he wouldn't, that is exactly what happens, right? He stops hearing me complaining, stops defending himself against me, and makes his own decisions. And they turn out to be a lot better than the decisions he was making when he was defending himself against me. So what if you treated porn the way we've heard wives talk about treating the other woman on this podcast, right? You've heard women come on this podcast and say, my husband had another woman. And then I say, what did you do about that? And they say, I didn't give her any oxygen, right? I didn't do any snooping on his phone. I didn't try to find out how much time they were spending together, how much time he was talking to her. I just treated her like she didn't exist. I gave her no oxygen. And that actually sort of suffocated her in their lives. She ceased to exist in their lives, right? We hear that story a lot on this podcast. And certainly in the coaching programs and the Ridiculously Happy Wife. So that's certainly one way to think about porn, is that it's something you would give no oxygen to, right? And have it just disappear from your life. It would cease to exist, and yet the passion could be restored in your relationship, right? If it works on a three-dimensional woman, how much more on a two-dimensional woman, right? Sometimes it's tempting to shortcut this idea of being respectful and just express a desire for him to be more passionate, right? And I don't recommend that. That has never worked for me, because a couple of reasons. One is asking someone to desire you doesn't feel good, first of all, because it's pretty evident that they don't desire you. That was evident for me. It just always felt bad. I just wanted him to want me. I didn't want to tell him to want me or wonder why he was doing something? Was it because I told him to, or is it because he really wanted me? That's one reason. But the other reason is because it actually made me less attractive when I asked him to be more passionate. So I don't recommend that. That's not what you did when you were dating, right? When you were dating, you were just showing up and he couldn't keep his hands off of you. And you were so respectful back then, right? You thought he was smart and handsome and funny. I mean, what did you respect about your man that made you pick him above all other men? When I get back to thinking about that, I mean, my husband was so smart, so playful, so sweet, so handsome, so funny, so romantic, so tender. When I started thinking about all that, guess who showed up and started making bedroom eyes at me again? That very guy. And it was so healing. And it started with me, with being respectful. What does any of that have to do with porn? You might be asking. Well, you make a good point. Porn is mostly a distraction. His porn watching is mostly a distraction from what's on your paper. That's on his paper. It has nothing to do with you and your superpowers to be able to skyrocket the passion in your relationship by returning to being the respectful woman you were when he couldn't keep his hands off of you. So you might ask yourself, what if he is crazy passionate towards you? And what if he just couldn't get enough of you? And what if you felt so desired, like an irresistible magnet to him? Because that is what happens when you are respectful. I have exciting news for you because right now you can listen to my book, The Empowered Wife, for free with your Audible membership in the United States. So discover the 6 surprising secrets to attract your man's time, his attention, his affection when you listen to the Empowered Wife audiobook on Audible without using credits. You don't need any credits. It's free. The Empowered Wife has over 1,700 5-star reviews, and it also has some 1-star reviews too, because not everybody is ready to hear what they can do to fix their relationship without their man even knowing about it. And I get it. I wasn't ready either until my marriage was completely falling apart and we were on the brink of divorce. And then I learned from women with happy marriages what actually works. And now my marriage is shiny and amazing. And those secrets are in this book. And you can listen to the whole book for free with your Audible membership. The only catch is that this Audible deal is only for a limited time. So to make your marriage last and thrive, go and listen for free with your Audible membership right now. My guest Melissa struggled with feeling emotionally abused, and there were lots of fights about money. After she implemented all of the intimacy skills step by step, she feels like she's had a whole life makeover, including her marriage, which feels safe, peaceful, and exciting now. She's going to tell us how she did it so you can do it too. Melissa, welcome to the Empowered Wife podcast. I'm so excited to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much, Laura. I am beyond excited. That's not even the big enough word to explain it. Thank you so much.
Cool. Well, I want to hear the whole thing. Let's start with the bad old days. What was happening in your marriage?
Right. Gosh. Well, it was kind of a slow fade, really. The first year of our marriage was better than most. I heard everybody always say, "Oh, the first year is the worst. It's so hard." And I wasn't having that experience. My husband um, showed up to the marriage. I had a daughter from a previous relationship, and he immediately took on the responsibility of like wanting to learn how to be a father. He was so sweet, tender, caring, amazing man. And I thought I found my knight in shining armor. And then, as the years went on and we had more and more children, and just different life challenges started to happen, and it just started going downhill. And I kept reading marriage books, trying to figure out what was wrong, trying to improve our marriage, and nothing was working. And then we had several large financial issue problems, and that really broke trust. And so, because all of a sudden we started struggling with trusting each other, and it just the fights kept happening, and I felt the need to control everything. because clearly my husband could not handle it. And, and he was willing to, give up that responsibility because he felt like he couldn't handle it either. So we had the mother-child thing going on, and it was just slowly, like he stopped wanting to be with me. He stopped wanting to, plan things to do together. And, it just, I couldn't figure out what was the thing that kept us so distant eventually, and that he chose to go out in the garage instead of, be with me and the kids and things like that. And I just couldn't figure it out. And um, the fights kept getting, worse and worse and worse. And my husband would get very silent. And I would eventually, I would plead, I would beg, I would cry, I would talk. And of course, obviously, when you have a problem, what do? You explain, this is a problem. I don't like what you're doing. I don't,
Yeah, yeah,
you're
yeah.
doing this. I don't like it. I would like this. Please stop. And, I couldn't figure out why nothing was working. Or we had to stop. We used to read marriage books together. That was a beautiful thing. And we had to stop because I would have this expectation. I'm like, oh, you just do these 5 things right here, and I'll do these 5 things. And when he wouldn't do them, I was just resentful, and he, you know, was pulling away more and more. And yeah, it was just really just depressing, lonely, sad, all of those things. Yeah. And my kids slowly but surely over 24 years could see it too, and they were fighting more, and it was just really sad. Our home became very sad.
Oh my gosh. And you felt like it was emotionally abusive the way he was showing up.
Yeah, the way it ended, like through the past several years, when we have a fight, and I'm up Googling everything, and all the articles, and oh, this is exactly what he's doing. Oh, look, he's ignoring me. Well, that's stonewalling. And oh, well, oh, look, that response is narcissistic. And oh, look, that just explains exactly what he's doing right here. And look, and of course, then I would go and say, see, here's how you're being narcissistic, and see, here's how you're being, you know stonewalling me, and here's how you're doing all these things wrong. And I couldn't figure out why he didn't just have his epiphany of, oh, I'm so wrong, I'm so sorry. It didn't work
Yeah.
like that. No, it did not. So
No. But it seemed like it was his fault, all his fault, because he wasn't being
oh yeah,
cooperative. And it kind of sends a message he doesn't really care because he wasn't trying.
right, right. And we had a really good season where he was really involved with the family, with the kids, helping with homeschooling, helping with all these things. And we'd read the Bible together as a family and doing all these, and then it just kind of stopped. And I would say, I really want that back. I really want us to be doing that. I really, I miss that. I need that. But it was all complaining. It just really was all complaining. It just was. And I didn't see it that way. I saw it as explaining a problem. In your book, you talk about State of the Unions. I was the pro State of the Union. I could write speeches for the president, I think, because we would go to a restaurant and sit down, because that's where we were less likely to have some sort of fight. But I'd have my notebook ready with the my 5 talking points of why things are bad and why you need to change them, and whether it was financially, especially about the money stuff, paying bills, different things, or things with the kids or whatever. And we'd have our State of the Unions and our coffee and pie, and it was just horrible. It never worked out at the end of it. It would seem kind of like a good conversation, but the end result was definitely more loneliness, more, there weren't any flowers, there weren't any dates, there weren't any, no sense of that he cared, at the end of that. So
No
didn't
loving
work.
touches. Yeah,
No, no.
no whisking you off to the bedroom or
No,
anything like that.
no,
Yeah.
did not happen that way. And it was sometimes though, my husband is so amazing. He would apologize sometimes. He would definitely, he would feel bad. He would feel like he was failing. He would say things like that. And then, you know, but then down the road, nothing would really come of it. So then I was more angry and more self-righteous about everything, and feeling like I need to control everything to make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just, it didn't, no matter what. I also thought if we could only get counseling.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
well, we don't have any money. We don't have any money for counseling because we never had money. And finally we found out, oh, this will be covered by insurance. We tried I tried going to my own counseling. We did couples counseling for a while, and that was not working at all. That
No.
it felt like it just fueled more fights, and that I couldn't figure out the end of it. Um, like after each session, why would we, even walk right immediately out and fight in the parking lot about what we had both accused each other of and blamed each other for, and there was no tools to work with, even, nothing to implement, nothing from that, and that was really disappointing to me. So
I relate to you
yeah,
so much. And I just remember,
yeah,
I remember those painful after counseling fights too, and
yeah,
how vicious they could be, really. And yeah, and feeling like we couldn't go to counseling because we had no money, like just like you. So we're alike.
yeah.
But so okay, so counseling didn't work. The marriage books, you had been reading them, but not anymore. State of the Unions weren't working. Yeah, was there a moment we thought we can't go on like this?
Yeah, there was, well, a few incidents, that like stories that really broke my heart. One big one was he planned a hunting trip on our wedding anniversary. And one of the beautiful things I always loved about our marriage was that he always wanted me with him. And I always wanted to be like, when we would go to do something, we would do it together, or we wouldn't do it at all. And I couldn't go because we had little babies at the time. And so I figured, well, I understand you want to take this on as an experience and want to learn how to hunt and things like that. But obviously we can't do that right now. It's not, and he went anyway. And it was our anniversary. And I sat in my room crying that day for 4 hours. And every time we'd have another fight about the distance in our relationship, I'd bring that one up. And then, but as the fights got worse, then one time I was in the hospital, and he had said he was going to come. He didn't come. And he was trying to tell me it was just a miscommunication or something like that. And I I was just like, no, no, don't come. I don't want you here if you're not helping and supporting me. And that, he got very angry at that. And then my daughters ended up picking me up. And then I started to think about, okay, you know, what am I going to do? How am I going to proceed with this? Do I look into what a divorce really looks like? I had 7 kids. I didn't have a really good career or a job or anything. We were just kind of getting by. I was doing food delivery. My husband was doing like the gig economy, Uber sort of a thing. And we had our house, but we didn't have any savings, anything that I just couldn't realistically put that together of how that would work. But I was also extremely miserable, lonely, and didn't know how to get any understanding. I just want to be heard and understood. And I just, no matter what I did, no matter what path I took, it just was not working, and I was miserable. So yeah, yeah.
It sounds super lonely, painful. It sounds exhausting too. 7 kids and yeah, food delivery. I mean, it sounds like you were pretty tired, probably also. Oh my gosh. So what happened? Did you
Yeah,
pursue the divorce thinking, or you just
no,
thought this is
absolutely not. Uh, yeah, no, it was one day, the same thing. He'd go off to go drive or work or whatever, and I'd be asking him, okay, well, how long are you gonna work today? Are you gonna come back? Are you gonna make sure you put the money in the account from working? And and then he's, either completely ignoring me or shooting back some, kind of rude and mean comments or something. And then I'm just crying on the floor, and I feel like I just am wasting so much time just being depressed about my marriage. And I start Googling again, looking on Amazon, and I was looking for time management books, and your book came up. And I had read a lot of books and came from a place of feeling like a lot of the marriage advice out there, especially like the religious based marriage advice, was very like it just didn't work. It made me feel like I couldn't exist. I couldn't do anything. I just had to do whatever my husband wanted me to. And so I was very skeptical about marriage books. And by that time. And so I'm like, okay, I'll give it a shot. I think I had listened to the abridged version of The Surrendered Wife at one point when I was in all that, and it just that one at the time sounded similar to the other advice. Just
Yeah.
submit,
Yeah.
just do what he
Yeah.
says, and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
but I'm
Just
like
be obedient.
empowered.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, yeah, yeah, and I'm like, I know that doesn't work. That
No.
does not work. And yeah,
Yeah. Do
so
it.
I
Yeah.
loved the word empowered. I'm like, that feels like that's going to give me something to work with. And so I hadn't bought the book on Amazon. I was kind of like, we'll see. And then I got the audio from the library. And then I also started listening to podcasts. And the first couple of things on the podcast kind of threw me off because it was like, just say whatever you think. I'm like, well, that's what I've been saying for the last 10 years. And like, it's not that I don't feel good about myself at the end of the day. So, but I loved the opening of it. And I read it for you really quick. That opening of it was that uh, I could change. Let's see, I really connected with it. Yeah. When you said, I don't have to keep sucking things up and I didn't have to be in denial, which is that submission side of it that I just couldn't get past. It's like, but I could change the things that I control. And it hit me like a truck. Like, I can't control my husband. I can't control it. And I can control me. And it hit me. I mean, I've probably heard it before, but it hit me in a whole different way. That I'm like, okay, let's just get into what I can control. Let's just figure that out. And like, I gotta let go of what I can't control. And so then I got the audiobook, the first chapter, Self-Care. And that day I just told my kids, I'm like, hey, we're going to the zoo and get your stuff and let's go. And I went for a whole different reason that day because, I had done self-care, getting nail appointments, doing things I know I needed to do for myself. It didn't fill me up the same way because I didn't have that same intention about it. I was just doing things that almost bred resentment because I'm like, I'm doing these things alone, or I'm doing these things because oh yeah, because I don't know, I'm supposed to be doing them, taking care of myself, but it wasn't filling me up. And the second, you listen to the chapter and about how, what you're supposed to get out of it. I got out of it a relaxing day at the zoo. I wasn't worried about my kids running around. I was just worried. I was happy to be with them and enjoy what I think that Dole Whip that day, the pineapple stuff. It was so great, right? It was just relaxing and happy. And I came home relaxed and happy, like I'd filled myself up, and it just felt so good. And that interaction with my husband that night, where we'd normally kind of have a cold war or whatever, ignore each other, um, there was a good interaction. I mean, it wasn't like magical right away, but it definitely was like the ice melted and we had like a nice evening watching TV and there wasn't any, the snippy back and forth stuff. It was just nice. And that was the beginning. And then I think I binge listened to the rest of it. I'm like, okay, let's check off this list. What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? And how do I get more? And I was hooked and because it was working and it felt so good. It just felt good. Yeah.
Oh, I love this. I love it. And thank you for just saying, I couldn't do the submission thing, right? That felt impossible. I've tried that. I can't just suck it up forever. It's like holding your breath underwater and eventually you're just, going to come up for air. Um, so I love that. But this felt like distinct and you had this epiphany like, oh yeah, I can't control him. And I feel like my epiphanies always sound so obvious when I say them out loud. I'm like, oh
Right.
yeah, okay, yeah, yeah. But what I heard was you were getting it in a way that felt doable. It felt exciting and hopeful. Instead of
Yes.
feeling like, oh, just more drudgery, hard, exhausting work. This wasn't that. This was running around at the zoo with a Dole Whip and
Right.
again like that was actually going to serve your marriage. It's interesting because a lot of people, a lot of us don't feel like we have time for self-care. We just need to get to the part where we can fix our husbands. But it sounds like you took to self-care pretty well right away.
Yeah. And I get there sometimes. I have to convince myself sometimes that because I spent so many I in the beginning of or kind of in the middle when we were really doing the whole uh, homeschooling kind of really ultra religious type of like reading those types of things. the understanding was you're number two, and you need to like give up all those things. You need to give up anything that you love or like to do. I used to do children's choir. I used to be really involved in musicals. I used to be all these things, and I gave it all up because I wasn't supposed to do anything outside of my home, supposedly, according to all these great advice books that, make your marriage wonderful. And it wasn't, I was very empty of everything. It took me a long time even to figure out what I still wanted to do or what really did fill me up. And, I could start easy, but yeah, and convincing myself that I deserve it, that I'm worth it, and that it's okay, especially in spending money things. And but the more I let go, the more I do it, it's this counterintuitive thing that's just so beautiful. I was listening to a group coaching call with Coach Stephanie. She said that the little comment she said on my paper, like coloring on your paper or decorating your paper, and I was like, yes, that's what we're doing. We're making this beautiful paper for ourselves. And then when I can see it that way, it explodes. And everything around me, my kids get happy, things get done. And my husband is amazing, doing everything for me. It's just, it's miraculous. That's everything miraculous. Yeah, it's been beautiful.
Wow. So cutting out things that brought you joy, like children's choir, musicals, that that didn't turn out to be that didn't serve your marriage at all. That was
No,
just the
no.
opposite. That kind of made life dreary, and stole some joy from your marriage. Yeah.
So resentful at the end of the day. Yeah, so resentful. And not really
Mm.
knowing why, because I was following this other advice that said it wasn't supposed to do, I was supposed to be fulfilled, not even knowing who I am anymore, just being, everything for my kids and everything for my husband and managing all of their things. And that it was just couldn't be further from the truth,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. All right. So I love you're doing some self-care and you're noticing a difference already. What else did you start to do differently than what you had been doing?
Yeah, and then so we were still a little bit in counseling when I first picked up the book. So restoring respect. I I felt like I was going to be a champion here, and I wrote down all this list for our next counseling appointment of all these things that my husband was doing right and awesome. And then also I made a list of all the things where I could see now because my eyes were starting to open up that oh, I'm controlling. Ooh, I'm really disrespectful. Because when
Painful.
you start reading all the examples that you're like, oh, I resemble this and this and this. And so I made these two beautiful lists, took them to counseling. I read them, and my husband was very touched. And you could tell that he kind of, that ice melted a little bit. I was shocked the counselor didn't acknowledge that. He didn't admonish that. Like I would think that that's really good inner work or whatever they would say. I
Yeah.
don't know. But there, he's just like, but I felt like I did something really good. And I'm glad that my husband, because that's all that really matters, that he responded so positively to that and was just like, wow, I thank you. And, he just was very touched by that. It was really nice. So,
Wait, so
yeah,
what
that
was
was,
the counselor's response to this? Like, okay,
he was
next.
just like,
What'd you say?
oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. Next, check it. Yeah, okay. Like, I was like, wow, okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I just
And
want to
that was our
say,
last counseling appointment
oh,
too. So
good. Oh, good.
that was our
I'm
last.
relieved. Like,
Right?
counselors. I'm
Right?
just the worst. I'm so mad at counselors, but not all of them, but a lot of them. And but I want to acknowledge you because that takes a lot of humility and courage to show up at a marriage counseling session with the list of all the things your husband's doing right. And it sounds like you were very accountable for the things that you'd been controlling. And he got it. He got it. But um it yeah, it's very discouraging when the like authority in the room doesn't say anything about it. So yeah, I'm
Right.
frustrated. I'm frustrated about that. But anyway, okay, so this was a big seismic shift in the way you were showing up in your marriage, it sounds like.
Yes, yes. And so about this time, we had been kicking around the idea of selling our house. My husband, for a very long time, wanted a food truck, food trailer business. We weren't sure kind of what we wanted to do, but we had a lot of equity in our house. And my husband he had one solid job for 15 years, and then he wasn't doing that anymore. And so we were kind of just getting by and didn't really have like a big future or goal plan. So he wanted something else, and you could tell that like we were both part of the problem. But it was we were frustrated because we weren't moving forward in our lives like we should have been, and because we weren't getting along either. It just kept us stuck. Money was stuck. We were stuck. Everything was stuck. And so we started talking about selling our house, and which would provide the funding to open this business and do all this stuff. So I started working on relinquishing control, and working on relinquishing control of the finances. My husband had a shoulder surgery, so he was home, and I was the only one working, bringing in any money. And so as I started doing these skills, it was really hard too, because like it was even more of a change in the situation where he was kind of just stuck at home. I had all these expectations of what he should be doing at home. And he was trying to heal from a surgery. And so it was like this big, all these things happening at once. Like this pot just started like boiling. And we had a meeting with a realtor and started to move forward in that. And I just was able to use all those wonderful cheat phrases like I trust you, whatever you think. And it just every step of the way just started working out better. And we were feeling more close. And he was, I started expressing gratitude for anything he did do in the house, or like helping with the homeschool of the kids and different things that he was now kind of doing, making meals, different things that he'd never done before. So it really, these skills kind of supported this huge life change, and each one I implemented really helped build to the next step, and it was really powerful, and it helped us change all these things, but really grow our marriage in it too. It's just like, I don't know, each one kind of like hand in hand for, being able to do these things, like so many extra opportunities, I guess I would say, to practice the skills in very, I didn't have to wait for an opportunity. I had a huge opportunity in front of me almost at every step. So, yeah.
Now, the way you're saying that too, a huge opportunity, like that sounds like exciting and fresh and new. I mean, another way to say that was like we had all these stressful things starting to happen, like shoulder surgery, right? So, but I don't hear that. I hear you were uh, optimistic.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, there was a lot to fear, but that's why it's like, but the book says faith over fear. That's a big part of it. So, okay, I can do that. I can do that. I had a hat. I actually had a hat, wore my hat like all, through the whole thing, faith over fear, and you know, get getting private coaching, getting in RHW, just really connecting, diving in beyond the just the book, and needing all of those things. And it just each step was really provided for. Like, yeah, the opportunity to relinquish control, the opportunity to be respectful, the opportunity to be grateful, to receive. I was a terrible receiver. That's one little bad old day thing. Horrible, horrible receiver. Horrible. There's so many times I just blew it with receiving with my husband. And we're getting back to like where he just last weekend he gave me flowers for the first time in quite a while. And I had to apologize because I didn't receive I
Oh,
mean, I do an apology because when he first gave it to me, it was in front of a bunch of people, and I was like, I didn't say anything. I said thank you, but my energy was definitely like, "What are you doing?" And I saw it later. I said, "I apologize for not receiving that well. I and I really do appreciate the flowers, and thank you so much for thinking of me, and that's so nice of you." Yeah, so I just,
he
yeah,
must have
definitely.
loved that vulnerability because that's really adorable. That so
Yeah.
all right. So and this is something. Had he been buying you flowers? Uh,
No, no, not recently, not and not for like years, because that was one of those money wasters. What are you doing? He tried to actually the anniversary that he went hunting, he tried to bring home flowers, and I said that does not make up for what you're doing. I don't know why you're trying to give me flowers. That's ridiculous. Like, so yeah, that pretty much, I would return every gift. I would, he got me a cat one time because at one point I said I wanted an orange cat, and we had seven little kids, and I was like, why are you giving me a cat right now? And he searched high and low for this cat and paid for this cat. It wasn't just like one you found on the step, so it was, and I was just, I don't like surprises. I don't like, I want to pick out my own gifts. And it just really, yeah, that destroyed intimacy really
Oh,
bad too. So,
oh,
but more opportunities to receive as we sold our house, and then, you know, he picked out the car, like we bought a new car. He picked it out for me, and I was more than happy. I said what color I wanted. I said, but that's it. And I allowed him to do that, and I was able to be gracious and have gratitude and do those things now. And yeah, what huge opportunity,
huge opportunity. You went from not being able to receive flowers to being able to receive a new car.
Right, right,
Oh my
yeah,
gosh. It's like
yeah,
graduate level right there, right? So,
right, right.
wow. So, and this is something you were just consciously trying to do better. You felt like it would serve you better to be a good receiver.
Yeah, everything, I guess I'm just like, I like the steps. I like things like that are laid out for me. It's like, okay, step one, do this. And when it works, especially when it works, why would you not do the other things when you're getting results and your husband's responding so great, and your whole life is so much better? It's just like, yeah, I want more. I want more of this. I need to know more. I need to be different for me. And I think that's part of it, is that the journey was more about, I started, yeah, I wanted him to change, but when I realized it was about me showing up different, being my best self, and all of those things, that's where I can really like dive deep into it. And there's so many layers. Even now it's been over a year of doing the skills, and I love being in the now I'm in the coaching program and all these different things, and just being connected. It's it's just, there's more and more and more, and I know I can do this for my whole life, and it's going to be like, this is a track of learning where things just get better and better, and it's just
Yeah.
amazing.
It's like
Yeah,
so exciting. I mean, you're in coach training. That costs money. I just want to point out.
yeah.
Right. And nobody
Oh,
see the issue with you couldn't even afford marriage counseling right before. So
yeah,
how did
I
this
have
happen?
I love this. Thank you. I have so many amazing financial miracle stories about this. So, it started out, I started skills October 2022. And we didn't have money. We didn't have money. And then you were running the challenge, the 5-day challenge. I signed up for that in the January of 2023. And then through that, you offer the RHW subscription, and there was like a special price on it. And so I was like, okay, I can, for this much. And then to upgrade, there was this much. And I was like, okay, I have this much, but I don't know how I'm going to get the next bit of money. And I was doing the food delivery, and I just, I put my desire out there. Somebody gave me $100 tip. That
Oh,
doesn't happen in food. You know what I mean? That if you, have you ever tipped? I mean, maybe if you're a really awesome person, you tipped your delivery person $100, but it was just like this special gift that and it was right at that right time. And I just put that desire out there and really wanted that. And and $100 cash, and I was like, what? And
you
and it
get
was just
chills.
handed to me,
You
and it was
get
amazing.
chills.
And yeah, because when you start walking in this direction, it's like, we believe in God. I believe God wants me to have a good marriage, and He's gonna, bring me all these things. He brought me your book. He brought me that you have all this wonderful community of women, all these wonderful coaches, all this stuff that's just like the tools to just really do this well, and feel so much better about who I am as a person, and teach my girls that, and all these different things. And so, yeah. And then didn't have money. And then so we started, as I started doing the skills, my husband didn't know. And, things just started changing. And then eventually to join RHW and stuff like that, I had, tell him where money's going, where I'm putting money. And I want to do this wife course thing. And he's like, well, anything that supports that, sure, I'm in favor of that. And then as he saw things change, he was just he put it out there that maybe someday you could be a coach. Maybe you could do that. And I was
It
like,
was his idea.
yeah, he had said it first before, yeah, way back before we even sold our house, before anything. And then um, one day I was looking up an email and um, I think I was trying to listen to a podcast or something, but then the master coaching masterclass thing was just right there. I'm like, well, maybe I should listen to that instead. And I'm like, okay, this is my opportunity. And by then I had relinquished control of the finances completely. Because as we sold the house, I took my hands completely off the wheel. I don't even look at my bank account. I can't. That's one of my little things that I'm like, if I look, I'm going to want to control. And so I'm going to put that there. And, I'm going to trust my husband that he's paying all these bills and stuff like that. And it hasn't steered me wrong since. If there's something to be dealt with or something that isn't being dealt with. I think in your book, you said something about like the electric bill not getting paid and getting turned off. Like, I'm like, okay, is that the worst thing that could happen to me? I had to decide, like, if then I get some candles and my husband learns to take responsibility, my husband becomes the man he needs to be. It builds him up, it builds his confidence so much. That's, when you say that we're the North Star in the relationship, it I've seen him grow so much just because of all that. And so, I mean, thank you to you so much for that because it makes him a better person. He's being all he can be because he's learning how to pay the bills and feeling like a man for the first time in his life. Like he can do things. He can run a business. He can, pay the electric bill and make sure it all gets figured out and feels like he's taking care of his family. And, what a huge morale boost for him, So yeah, he was more than willing
Amazing.
to pay for and we had, and the finances were available because of, selling the house and all these things is to do coach training. And so it was all just right there. And as I needed it, each thing, amazing.
That is so inspiring, Melissa, because this was a hot button. This was a pain point in your marriage, big old pain point. I mean, how is it different to say whatever you think, I trust you to him with selling the house than it like you were talked about earlier, like saying whatever you think, you're like, I already did that. That was like submission and that just felt impossible to maintain. I mean, how was this different?
Right. I think the skills slowly changed me, changed how I saw things, my perspective totally changed on how I was showing up and what I was keeping my husband from, because of me. Like I was the one in the way. And I couldn't see that before. And of course not. It takes a lot of humility and
Yeah.
I and I guess in the way your book puts it, in the way and the coaches, you know, any coaching or any interactions I've had, it was so gentle and so kind. And you get the empathy you need for the things that hurt, and you get the acknowledgement for the way you're winning, and you get to focus on your wins. And so it works. This whole thing works in a way that builds up without tearing down unnecessarily, and you're able to see for yourself because that's where the change comes, right? When you can tell us it wouldn't work for my husband when I told him that he wasn't paying the bills and he was this and he was that. It doesn't work for people that way. So it's like you just kind of have to hold this like gentle mirror up that here's how it could be better, and you're able to see it for yourself. And that's what coaching is, and you can change, and it gives you the freedom to change. Freedom, that's the word I love,
Oh my
freedom, right?
gosh. Oh, this is so inspiring. I feel like just like you made a touchdown. Like, yay!
Oh,
This
yeah,
is so
yeah.
cool, right? To hear where you were coming from and the place that you've arrived at. I know it takes a lot of courage to do all the things that you're describing, but you really do a great job showing us how exhilarating it is. What a thrill, like how gratifying to make these choices the way you've made them. What is your marriage like now?
It's really good. I mean, it's so, yeah, more than I could imagine. My husband is so tender and caring and will do anything for me. I say something and it's like, why are you on your phone? Well, I'm ordering what you just said. I'm like, okay, thank you. Or just doing things like you know, makes me coffee, cleans up my car. You know, I just everything, anything, name it. And I always had this core belief that he wanted to make me happy. So when he started behaving like he didn't anymore, it was really confusing to me. And I didn't realize it was me getting in the way, how I was not expressing pure desires, and how I learned how to express the pure desire in a way, and how just switching, I would love, who would think that those three words would change how my husband, the difference between him staying on his phone, rolling his eyes at me, or jumping up and doing it. Really? I would love was all that it took, oh, I can do that. That's in, simple. The cheat phrases made it simple to be able to do, and just gets you a start to learn more about how you come off to other people, and it's just been beautiful. He's everything's been wonderful. We sold the house. We live in an RV now, but we own everything outright, and so we don't have debt hanging over our heads. We own our business. We run it together. That wouldn't be possible without the skills, for sure. That was a lot of really difficult, you talk about in your book on staying on your own paper. Like, it brought up the question, another opportunity. What is my paper in this? Because that was a whole new thing of figuring out what my paper was, what his paper was in a business situation, and being able to do it together. So lots of opportunities there to figure out how to do that in a skilled way. And, when I get stuck, which, because things aren't perfect, uh, I just go back. I just go back to the book. I love that your live with Laura calls are recorded. I listen to those, listen to the podcast, just get back in to the framework, do some self-care, and treat that as self-care, quite honestly, because it grows me. And every time I listen to a group coaching call, if I feel like I'm just stuck and I'm in that net, needless emotional turmoil again, and I, I'm just mad, I'm angry, and I'm frustrated, and I'm upset. And it inevitably, someone says something that is just like, oh, yeah, I can just, you know, express gratitude. I'm gonna write down 10 gratitudes, and I'm gonna write down, I'm gonna maybe just like journal. I'm gonna go in circle. I'm gonna post like kind of my feelings about this and just get it out, or, you know, text my oldest daughters are kind of my friends, and just get it out, and I can do that, and I have a place. It just makes everything better. And so, yeah, everything is so workable, and I have something with my husband that's this beautiful, safe connection. You said safe in the introduction. I'm like, yeah, that was one of my spouse fulfilling prophecies, and then I even just started using it. I said, thank you for making me feel so safe. And, you know, if I would have said that a year and a half ago, I would have been lying. It would have
Yeah.
been one of those lying, like I am lying. And now I can really say that because I just see his tender heart towards me, his heart towards the kids, and wanting, both being on the same page about what we want for our family, is beautiful. Everything's just, I can't wait to see what the next season brings. And also, and to add to that, also the example that my two oldest children are married, and originally they were like, their initial marriage counseling type people to say, oh, you're ready to get married. We're like, okay, so what do you think about your parents' relationship? Do you want that? And both my like, absolutely not. Like, they were like horrified. And that, when my kids both told me that, it just broke my heart. And I'm like, what are we doing if we're not doing that, for our kids? And now they see so much value, and they acknowledge me. That's so beautiful. They say, Mom, look what you did. So that makes me cry. But that, like, they're like, I'm so proud of you, Mom. I'm so proud of
Oh
all
my
the work that you've done. So yeah, I have great kids. I have an amazing husband, and they were there all the time. And I get to bring out the best in them by being the best me. And that's what I get to learn. So that it's just like, wow, I'm so blessed. So yeah.
God. Listen, wow. Wow. It makes me cry too. I mean,
Mm.
who doesn't want that too? And how painful to have your kids say, "Oh, no, definitely don't want that kind of marriage." And for them to go
Right.
from that to saying, "Mom, look what you did. You transformed our whole family," it sounds like. This has had
Yeah.
a big impact on 7 kids too. Not, I mean, it had a big impact on you and your husband, but like how about the other kids? Like how has this impacted all your kids that you've done all this?
Yeah, you can definitely see just it's kind of really cool as I do the skills, I'm expressing gratitude more to them. I used to be very negative, like the yeah, you did the dishes, but you didn't clean the counters. And I was always pointing out the one thing they did wrong instead of the 5 things they did right. And I've been able to switch that around. And so they're doing that for each other more and more. Um, I'm definitely working on as my two youngest are boys, and I really want to start working on, okay, how can I respect them so they learn that now, and instead of being the mom that tells them everything, I'm like, okay, where can I let go and maybe start doing the like teaching them respect, teaching me how to respect them. Yeah, and I just see their relationships getting better and their ability to like apologize or receive things or just like they mirror that stuff that I've been doing. And it's really kind of cool. Every time I catch them or my husband mirrors it to them when he does that or he expresses gratitude. He started saying everything I hear you to me a lot. And when I say, I really like this or that, or oh, I think this is that, they say, I hear you. I'm like, ah.
Does it feel nice? Like, oh, I feel heard.
Right, right.
That's cool. That's good. So you've changed the whole culture. There's a culture of gratitude. There's a culture of listening that
Yeah.
your family listens to each other, hears each other, maybe more than there was. Um, so it's affected the whole family. Has your husband acknowledged you in any way? Or I mean, I'm sure that it's like every day in every way, the way he's responding to you. It sounds like he's
Yeah.
changed a lot too, but just curious if you ever got
Oh,
any
he
acknowledgement.
he comes out and says the most amazing things. Like, um, way back when, at first he, played this song for me, like one of those, like I think it's 1950s type song, like "You're My Special Angel." He's like, I just heard the song and thought of you. Or I'm like, okay, that's he didn't even do that when we were dating. That was not at all. And I'm like, a song, and like, and he he said in one of the things he said, I don't know, we were just having her. He said, "Well, you've taught me how to love and be loved." And I'm
He
like,
said that?
okay, yeah. He has these gems that he just comes out with, and that I'm like, wow, okay, thank you. Oh my gosh, and he always telling me so proud of me. I told him obviously that I was doing the podcast. He's like, I'm so proud of you. I'm so
Oh my
proud that you're
gosh.
going to be a coach. I'm so proud. And what really funny, we were talking about some family members that were like having some conflict or whatever. And I'm like, well, I really wish I could just, get her that book and, you know, teach her the skills. He's like, yeah, because you really know how to respect. And I'm like, are you talking about me? Because I don't feel like
Wow.
that would be what someone would define me by. But I really thought that, wow, if he could see that about me, that even for a minute, that I'm like, wow, okay, thank you so much. Like, so yeah, he sees it. He talks about those beautiful. He just says these wonderful things to me, like that just come
Wow.
out of nowhere. And yeah, it's totally different. Where
It's romantic. It's
mhm,
tender. It's sweet and safe,
yes,
like you said. So who doesn't want that, Melissa? You created what everyone wants from in their marriage. So What an accomplishment. I love it. What's your tip for somebody who is where you were, where they just feel like, there's not enough money, he's not making enough money, not stepping up and being responsible as a husband, and there's a lot of fighting, and he's maybe a narcissist or like there's emotional abuse. And they want what you have now, where he says, "You've really taught me how to love and be loved, and you are my special angel." This song made me think of you, right? And you guys are working together, which is that's big, right? Not everybody, that can be hard. That can be really hard on a marriage, but not for you guys. It sounds like you guys are thriving on that. Your kids admire what you've done. What's your best tip for somebody who wants what you have now?
Right. You don't have to be alone. You don't have to keep feeling this way. And there's an answer. And get the book, start working on the skills, and you'll discover a way of being that works for you, that grows you, that the best self-improvement program you can undertake for sure. That whatever you're stuck at, it doesn't have to stay that way. It absolutely doesn't. There's an answer. There's a solution. And the skills are it for sure. I'm a big promoter, a big believer. And when you find something that's true, it's just, you want to tell everybody about it. You want to just like, I found truth. This works. Other things don't necessarily work, but this sure does. And it's because you can do it for you. You have 100% control of being grateful, of deciding to receive, of deciding to be respectful, of deciding to let go, and how that serves you better than holding on because you couldn't control it anyway. You can do all of these things. You can do them, and it's magical, absolutely magical.
Listen, you're a glowing billboard, like just a irresistible magnet for the intimacy skills, because you just make it look really attractive, really exciting and fun. So I love that. What would you say to Melissa if you could go back and tell her what you know now?
Oh goodness, yeah, definitely. I wish I would have had this book from the beginning. I wish, yeah, I would have loved the Surrendered Single book to even just come into into my marriage with those skills to kind of just have a framework to work from. That I don't know, I'm proud of me, that you're gonna do something great, and you're gonna change your marriage, and you're gonna have a good marriage, and you can work hard at this, and you can do it. You can do this. Because, you know, yeah, because there was a time when I didn't feel like I could acknowledge myself, and I can now. And that's what it's like. You're gonna get there. You're gonna have what you always wanted. You can have it. That's what I would say for sure. But
All your
you're gonna
dreams are
make
going to
it.
come
You're gonna
true.
make it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're going to make it. You can do it. And I love that you're proud of yourself. And I want to acknowledge you too. I want to give you the Best
Ah,
Wife Award. Melissa,
I love that.
congratulations. You
Thank
did
you.
it. You did it. This is it's huge, right? Not everybody can do this. Like you fixed a whole nine people's lives are forever
Wow.
transformed for the better. You created a strong family, a loving family, a grateful family, and become respectful and just and created the marriage of your dreams and the family of your dreams, and become your best self. So, congratulations. It's really inspiring to get to hear how you've done it, what you've done, and how you're living now. So, I have so much admiration for you.
Thank you so much, Laura. And I owe it all to you and your mission and all the people that have come on board. That when everybody has this common like unity, when everybody's working towards that, it's just so powerful. It's so powerful when everybody can come into agreement and stand for each other. And that's what this is. And it's so empowering. It's empowering. And that's amazing.
Yeah, it is, and I thank you so much, and I'm so grateful that you're on the mission to end world divorce, that we're on this mission together. It means so much to me too. It keeps my marriage shiny and amazing to get to hear your story. Yeah, and to be able to share it on this podcast. So thank you so much. This is great. I can't thank you enough.
Thank you. Thank you.
According to a study at Harvard, and this was horrifying to hear, if you know a couple who's getting divorced, you are 75% more likely to get divorced too. Woo! It matters who you listen to, which is why over 7,000 women like you who think that having a great marriage is important have joined our free Adored Wife group. The Adored Wife group is a launch pad where you can meet our certified coaches and discover the best next steps for making your marriage last and thrive. It's 100% free to join. Just go to lauradoyle.org/group right now. This is a private group and it's not for everybody, but if you are a wife or girlfriend who thinks that having a great marriage is important too, we'd all really like to meet you. So go to lauradoyle.org/group right now to join us free. That's lauradoyle.org/group. Listen and subscribe to the Empowered Wife podcast. On next week's episode, I'm going to be talking about what to do if your husband's mental illness is ruining your marriage. I'm going to talk about how to fix that. And in the meantime, I hope you are having lots of fun. That's so important. Today's fun fact is that I get so nervous when we start to watch a new show because if I don't like it, I will have wasted my time. And if I do like it, I will be up all night watching every single episode.